Today we have another Echo Cup match from France. You know, a stack list maybe from last time, but I'm still putting it in the comment. And he plays his trusty Reanimator deck, and he plays this time against a brew from morsaa, which is Boros Energy with a blue splash for Days, Force and Mockingbird. So I see France here in the advantage in game one because of the combo, and there is no Grave Fate in the main deck, but I think in the second and third game morsaa should be favored because his deck has the anti-combo elements, Days and Force, and he has the removal and the Grave Fate, and he has the tokens and the synergies to be really strong in the late game, in the grindy game, which can happen when the Grave Fate hits the board. So let's see what happens. Hello, so we are starting here a few seconds late. So what happened? So we are on turn 2. I'm not sure who was on the play and on the draw, but we have Tamio attacking, which is really strong in this matchup because this matchup is very grindy. So it's also really good to brainstorm here because of the removal suite of the deck. So the deck has 4 mainboard Swords to Plowshares, but it does not have any prismatic ending because it's not a control deck. It's not really a tempo deck. It's like a semi, I don't know. It's similar to a tempo deck because we have similar components. We have the Days, we have the Force of Will. And maybe it is kind of a tempo mid-range deck, right? Which is built to outgrind the other mid-range decks. You have less of a clock than, for example, a Delver deck. But you can go wide with the Ajani and the Guide of Souls and so on. So it's more of a synergistic deck. So if France here manages to uptick Tamio and then either ultimate Tamio, that's a good idea because, yeah, again, if there's not enough fast pressure for morsaa, then he may just be able to ultimate. And there's also no Bowmaster threat as long as France doesn't play his own Bowmaster, because this is something that can often happen, is that morsaa plays, or the energy decks play the Mockingbird, especially this version with blue, to copy his own Bowmaster. So now it's very important that he recognizes this and does not go for the Bowmaster. And of course he also has to think about how high the clock is. The Mobilize is also really weak against Tamio, so I would just uptick here, and he can also go for the combo as well. He has the double angle here because it's open deck list, so we know morsaa has no Grave Fate in the first game. So France is presenting a very powerful two-pronged attack here, threatening Tamio and threatening the combo at the same turn. And was his pitch? There's a Mockingbird is pitched. Okay, for those people who don't know, Mockingbird is a bit, oh wow, and there's Reanimate on the Atraxa, so this game is probably over at this point. But just to reiterate, for people who don't know this deck, it's very confusing. There are many moving parts, like the Mockingbird. It creates a flying copy. So this is something that often confuses me, especially on Magic Online, because you see the image of the original card, like you play with a Nethergolf, and then you think your opponent also has a Nethergolf, but the Mockingbird is also flying, and the mana value of Mockingbird in total is meant. So if X equals 1, you can copy a Bowmaster. It's not like Green Sun Zenith where you put in X equals 2 or 3 total mana if you want a 2 mana coast creature, right? Okay, so we have this really powerful two-front attack here from Atraxa, protecting the tokens. I mean, morsaa can remove Atraxa with Swords to Plowshares, but he does play a Wasteland, which does not help in the situation whatsoever. There is no no Pyroblast main deck. There could be a Goblin Bombardment, but this is probably too little too late here. So he's now passing the turn, and we know some of the cards that France got from the chat, no, from the game log here. So what is it? There are revealed Wasteland, Entomb, Flooded Strand. Let's see. Chooses Brazen Borer, Ponder, Wasteland, and Force of Will. And I guess the Force of Will is probably locking it up. So now he can just uptick Tamio with a force protection, but he has spent the ponder, but there's still the Brazen Borer as the blue card, and Atraxa has vigilance anyways, so he can just attack and next turn go for the ultimate. So this will be super difficult to come back from. I'm not sure if there's even a good sequence to resolve this, because like morsaa has red, but he doesn't play Lightning Bolt. He needs to first use Swords to Plowshares on the Atraxa to get rid of that. But then he also needs to threaten Tamio, and I have no idea how he does it. So he uses Brazen Borer on Voice of Victory. This makes sense, because Voice of Victory prevents interaction otherwise, and morsaa is at 12. Did he attack? Yeah, he is attacked by this. Okay, there's a ponder, but I think we will see the concession very soon, except maybe I didn't see something, but if I look at this deck in the main board, I don't see any option of dealing quickly with the Tamio right now here. Except the Goblin Bombardment, but he probably doesn't have enough tokens. I mean, he could use it. No, he needs to Voice of Victory, okay, but then he doesn't have the mana for Goblin Bombardment, right? Even Ajani flipping would not be enough. And he's out of mana as well. So post-board is a different situation, because there are the Pyroblasts, which can, so Pyroblast plus Swords to Plowshares is kind of an out to such a situation. Although, of course, the best way is always to not enter into this situation in the first place. And now France also has to think about time. So this match is played with the default timer of 25 minutes per person. I mean, this is just such a quick game that this is not a problem for this game, but the other two games can be really grindy, especially as we see already that in the next game there will probably be 4 graveyard hate cards, so this can be really slow. So I would, if I were France, I would just play really quickly from this unlosable position here. And now we enter sideboarding. So for sideboarding, I expect France to shave on the counter magic because of Voice of Victory and the Pyroblasts. So he will probably cut some Daze and Force, and Cling to Dust also doesn't really do anything because this deck doesn't have Murktide, Regent or other graveyard interactions as far as I can see. So there's some draw and play element to it, whether you cut Daze or Force. I would probably keep Daze in those kind of games and cut the Force as a tempo player, but this is Reanimator, so I'm not sure. I think all the rest is really strong. You can always cut one animate dead, but I think in this space maybe you want to keep it because the Murktides are probably not great against the 4 Swords to Plowshares and the 3 Pyroblasts. Speaking of them, so morsaa is probably wanting to bring in the 4 Graveyard Hate cards and the 3 Pyroblasts for a total of 7. Harsh Mentor, I'm not sure. It's something that does 2 damage for each, like Fetch Land and Clue Crack and so on. I don't know if that's worth it because it doesn't work for Planeswalkers, so probably not. So probably those 7 cards, and I'm not sure what he will bring out. Maybe he will go down on the Daze Wasteland plan, that's possible. But let's see if the two have finished sideboarding and we can see the next game. Okay, and they sideboarded really quickly, and so morsaa has kept 7 with a really strong 7 with Volcanic Island and Gravedigger's Cage. Hardcarsten seems like he also kept 7, right? Because he's at 6 after playing the Underground Sea with the Ponder on the stack, yes. So no mulliganing here involved. He ponders, declines to use Ponder's ability, so this will be really difficult for France now because the Gravedigger's Cage stops the Reanimator plan for now. With the Voice of Victory, if he gets it in play, it's also difficult to remove with Brazen Borer without getting into mana trouble and getting around Daze and Wasteland and so on. And there's the Goblin Bombardment. So now probably the best way for Franz would be again to set up a quick flip Tamio. However, we saw there are 3 Pyroblasts now. So all-inning on a Tamio is now not a great strategy anymore. So it's possibly better after sideboarding to still get a quick Tamio in, but to convert the minus ability more often or the clue cracks just to stay at a card advantage, because the deck from morsaa is very grindy and so has a bit more value for the mana. But if Hardcarsten aka Franz aka Zanzazar can draw 2 cards per turn, then it's probably a good way to beat the value train, and then you can maybe bring in a Barrow Golf and protect it long enough to take over the game. That's one of the possibilities. But right now, I won't lie, it's a really, really strong position for morsaa, who now also has the Voice of Victory active. However, I'm not really sure how to evaluate the Voice of Victory. It's kind of a new card where I think it should be at its best in a combo deck, right? Because like Franz does not need to cast that many spells on morsaa's turn and is probably going to shave counter magic anyway, but maybe just as a token generator the Voice of Victory is maybe strong enough. So maybe you say, okay, casting spells during your turn is maybe more important here just for the tokens and ignoring the ability. But I mean, the ability is still good, right? For example, maybe Franz, as I said, wants to end of turn get rid of the Gravedigger's Cage, cannot do it. So it's good against Brazen Borer, or like he cannot force the Gravedigger's Cage, for example. Okay, there's an animate dead. What happened? I don't understand. Maybe this is a display bug. Ah, it's because of Gravedigger's Cage. Okay, but I don't know why the animate dead is now shown on morsaa's side. Yeah, I also forgot about the Gravedigger's Cage for a moment. So now this is a very, very weak situation here. So I think this is because, but enchant creature card in a graveyard, right? I don't know. If it's on the battlefield, it's an aura, and an aura without a target should die. I don't know, but anyway, that is a complicated card because it's enchanting a dead creature. We also, at the recent Dresden tournament, I think we also had a rules question involving animate dead. There were a lot of interesting rules questions also, like that you can wasteland your own wasteland, which won me a game. But I don't remember what it was with animate dead. Ah, yeah, I think Philip wanted to cast it without a target, but the judge ruling was that it's not possible. You need to say the target of animate dead when you cast it like a normal aura. And it's it's difficult to tell sometimes if you're not playing on Magic Online, but you play with the original cards. I think animate dead, is it Ice Age or is it? I need to look it up. No, I think it was even 3rd edition. I think I have it from foreign black bordered. Is it in beta actually? Let's animate dead beta MTG. Yes, it's actually a beta card or alpha. So, but it's really strong. So this would be a nice. If you're a Reanimator player, oh, but it costs over 300 euro. Probably too much. I will probably stay with my preferred versions of foreign black border. I also only have 1 or 2. But sorry, let's go back to the game. So what is happening? Yeah, the Tamio is still active here and can draw cards. So now, oh, Franz is going to flip Tamio, which is risky because of the red elemental blast. So I'm not okay, but maybe he has to brainstorm anyways. So morsaa could now also red blast in response, if he has it, to the flip trigger before Franz can find interaction. Actually, if animate that is controlled by morsaa, maybe Franz can also later use Brazen Borer to bounce animate that to his hand, playing around this card, but morsaa doesn't play this card. Okay, there is the brainstorm, yes. Did he do it after the... yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think in general it's better if morsaa uses the swords to plowshares before the brainstorm resolves, because there is always the possibility that Franz can draw a force of will with the brainstorm, right? But maybe morsaa doesn't care about it and wants to trick Franz into forcing the swords. That's also possible between such high-level players, where if you look at it, you think, that's maybe a mistake, but maybe they just want you to believe that, and there could always be some hidden agenda behind it. Okay, so let's see. There is the Goblin Bombardment now, which is getting rid of the Bowmaster, but I think this is an okay trade, because at least the Ocelot Pride is gone, and there's also the Sitting's Blessing is soon to be active, right? There are 8 cards. There were 9 cards. Yeah, so it's good to get rid of that. And yeah, we don't know the hands. Actually, it doesn't look that far off right now, because Franz has 4 cards in hands and morsaa has only 2. Not sure how that happened. I guess because the Gravedigger's Cage right now is not actively influencing the game. And there's the Murktide Regent as an 8/8. Okay, so this is a 3-turn clock for 24 damage. So if morsaa doesn't have a red blast, but I think there weren't many targets. Okay, there's Ajani, which can immediately flip. So the problem is, I think it's very hard for Franz to prevent the flip because of Goblin Bombardment and the 2 cat tokens. So let's say morsaa uses the Goblin Bombardment to sacrifice one of the cat tokens to get the flip triggers. Then Franz could use Fatal Push in response on Ajani if he has it. But then morsaa can just sacrifice his other cat warrior token to get another flip trigger. This is not like Tamio, which only flips once per turn, because it says exactly 3 card, third card that is drawn in a turn, right? So Ajani shares some things with Tamio, but not all. So because we all probably have a lot of experience playing with and against Tamio, so with and against Tamio, so we can reuse some of that, but it's not completely different. Yeah, this is a mistake, I think, because you can now flip it. So it's better if you wait for it to flip. Now morsaa, or maybe it's not mistake, maybe he wants to discard a card. No, he took damage. Because if I see it correctly, morsaa can now just sacrifice the cat token, shoot the damage to Franz, and flip Ajani, right? So I'm not sure. Yeah, there's the flip trigger. And now even if Franz has a push, I wrote Franz before the match if he's experienced with Ajani, but maybe he's not. Or again, maybe he has some really cool line. That's often you watch people and you think it's a mistake, but sometimes it could be also, maybe he wants it to flip because now he can kill it with Murktide Regent, right? That's also a possibility. So often if you look at one, like the first layer, you think something is a bad play, but then you look deeper and you see, okay, Franz just wanted him to flip the Ajani in the, I think it was the end step, right? So he cannot use the ability and now he can attack it down. This makes sense. Okay, so if we follow this logic, he probably wants to attack Ajani right now. The ultimate ability of Ajani is not very threatening right now. So there is some really hated commander card which costs 4 mana. I think it's with Weatherlight, where you have a similar effect where each opponent chooses an artifact, creature, enchantment, planeswalker, and land. I think no planeswalker, and sacrifice the rest. But with Ajani, it's a bit different because with Ajani, you can keep all your lands. And so, because Franz right now only has one creature. He has the Brazen Boar. Okay, we see the Entomb. Will we see the Reanimate? We see the Reanimate right now. Okay. Franz is going down to 4. And we know from open deck lists that there is no Lightning Bolt involved. So normally I would be really scared of a Lightning Bolt here. And let's see. Franz is going from 0 cards to how many? We reveal Polluted Delta, Ponder, Reanimate, Thoughtseize, Wasteland, Underground Sea, Polluted Delta, Flood Strand, Underground Sea, and Orcish Bowmasters. So there's only one creature which is Orcish Bowmasters. He takes the Undercity Sewers and the Ponder. So 3 cards is not that much. But in this situation, with morsaa being only on 2 cards in hand, this will probably be enough. And I'm not completely sure how threatening Ajani is right now. But Franz is going for the attack on Ajani here, just to be sure. And he has his opponent on a 2-turn clock. So if he had attacked him, he would have put him from 21 to 13. And then next turn he would be dead. So he's giving his opponent 1 additional turn. However, I can understand that the Planeswalker is also scary. There is a daze on the Ponder, okay, because I'm not sure how good it is, because he can make a Cat Warrior creature token. Okay, I understand Franz's point why he killed Ajani and why he did it that way. Okay, it was because he is at 4 life with the Reanimate, and if he didn't kill Ajani with the Goblin Bombardment, then morsaa has a lot of token producers where he could put Franz to 0 life. Okay, I get it now. I get it. And if he hadn't used the Bitter Triumph, but he could also just have kept the Bitter Triumph and waited. But then the Planeswalker player can keep priority and use the Planeswalker for 1 more turn, creating a token which is 1 more trigger, right? But then Franz also would be at 7. Okay. And it seems like the players are chatting, so it seems like the match is over. So there's a Gravedigger's Cage from hand again, and Franz wins the match. Congratulations. So unfortunately morsaa is now probably out of the Echo Cup because it's double elimination, but Franz is still in. And yeah, please write in the comments if you find out more, and see you later.